Hey everyone, it's Antoinette, your host of Montalvo International Women in Life and Leadership, or My Will, where the mission is for your will and my will to represent his will. I'm so excited because we've been hanging out in this series on motherhood, and it's been so timely, at least for me. It's been teaching me a whole lot, and it's just been giving me a chance to just have some grace with myself, especially with so many changes going on in this world, and there's so many things that's happening, especially within the journey of mothering and motherhood, no matter where you find yourself in this season. It's just really great to have others surrounded around you that you can lean on, that can kind of speak some wisdom into your life, and also just to talk about the ebbs and flows, the joys and challenges that come with motherhood. So it's been really neat to speak with a variety of different women who I consider leaders, and also were just leaders in their own community and their own spheres of influence. But I'm especially excited because I have a really special guest. I know I always say that, but I am really excited. I get to interview my sister. Well, yeah, didn't you already interview your sister for something else? This is my sister-in-law, so it's going to be great. So stay tuned for an amazing episode, and we'll be able to chat about motherhood. So hey everyone, it's Antoinette. Thank you for joining us for another episode of My Will, which is Montalvo International Women in Life and Leadership. And I'm so excited as we continue this series on motherhood. I have my special guest, Emily Davis. If you didn't know, she is my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law is new terminology right now, but she is just wonderful. She really is just such an instrumental person in my life, especially us getting a chance to journey into motherhood together and figuring out how to handle our little ones, our little wild ones, are ones that have so much energy and intellect. And it's been really cool to see them grow alongside each other, even in, the distance of everything that everyone's experiencing with the pandemic. So I'd love to introduce her. Emily, how are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad that we were finally able to get this together. I know this has been kind of a long time coming, and I'm always hounding you to do stuff with me. So thank you for joining in and hanging out.
Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this amazing platform to help other mothers to learn from each other, but even help others that may be seeking some insight on how to do mothering better with others. So
Yeah,
excited.
absolutely. And it's been really neat. I've been really trying to preface for those who may not be mothers or who have had a hard time in motherhood, or those who are just like, I'm not really sure if I even want to go down the road of motherhood, or I've had a hard space or place. Definitely stick around, tune in, stay connected, because you can still just glean a lot of life wisdom and tips from it. I say don't check out, because we're just learning together as women, as leaders, as a variety of seasons that we're all going through. And a lot of this series has not only just been about being a mother, but it's been about journeying through our own purpose and identity, understanding how God shaped us, and even in the changes and the seasons and the flows that we go through, some of the challenges and surprises that we might experience. And so, obviously, the topic is focused around motherhood, but it's really just a hope for all of us to understand how to find better balance for ourselves. So, I would love to stop talking on my end and be able to hear a little bit more about you, Emily. Maybe you can share a bit about yourself, and maybe just some key areas of growth, things that obviously I might have the inside scoop, but others may not know about you, and maybe just a little bit of your journey pre-motherhood, so to speak.
Sure. Well, again, my name is Emily Davis. I am a proud Puerto Rican, born and raised in Puerto Rico.
Woo-hoo.
Currently live in Philadelphia. Been married for 6 years with my wonderful husband, Ryan. And I have a beautiful 2-year-old girl named Melody Grace. Um, as for key areas or things that have kind of shaped my life and things before motherhood, I would say there's been two things that I can think of, serving and church. I come from a family of givers of time and talent. My parents, from an early age, taught my older brother and myself the importance of giving of your resources and giving of your time to help others. So this molded many of my interests growing up. Whenever it comes to job seeking and volunteering or different works and passions that just have come up. definitely molded. In church, being a really big one, has been a big part of who I am. You know, I'm one of those kids that people say were born in church,
Hmm.
have been in church my whole life, but had a personal encounter with God at an early age, and at a very early age also became a leader in my church. That was a big part of my passion to work with the church to do things for my local church and just the church in general, which has right now led me to my current job where I am a part of a Christian nonprofit that helps network churches with other churches, believers, to do things together, to help our city, help others, as well as believers unite. So these two things I feel like have definitely shaped who I am today.
Yeah, definitely. And that's awesome. And I can highly attest to just the giving nature. And I think that is what's been such a beautiful blend of our families. And especially just on a personal note, just marriage to your brother, of just understanding how both of us have such a giving heart. And that flows through everything that we do together in both sets of our families. I even remember, for inside scoop, Emily was totally a part of setting up me and her brother, which I like to say jokingly was kind of like a little bit of an arranged marriage, but it was perfectly arranged, is what I like to say. And so just in the beginning stages of our courtship, so to speak, between her brother and myself, their family gave me so much. I mean, literally, they gave me so much. I remember probably maybe a week into it before anyone even really knew that we were kind of together and whatnot. They gave me like all these clothes. I remember for my birthday, it was maybe around my birthday or before. It was just a download of clothing, and they have been dressing me ever since. So I highly attest to the giving nature, and I think that speaks just volumes to who you guys are and how you've been trained, and then also too just how that pours into what you do, like you said, on your everyday life, whether it's in motherhood or life or profession. And
Yeah.
I love that, and it's such a beautiful love language, and it's just such a beautiful thing to see play out in every single thing that's done. So I think that's awesome. And in all of that, and really kind of diving a little bit deeper, do you, I guess, again, thinking about that journey and perspective before kids, um, you know, maybe leading up to motherhood, how did you feel like your perspective of motherhood looked pre-kids? And then now having, the beautiful Melody, how has that changed to now? And then just maybe some big challenges or obstacles that have come with that adjustment, especially maybe in your own right of, being a giver, and how does that play out in motherhood and everything else that you have to do?
Yeah, definitely a big change. I was one of those. I remember when I met Ryan. I remember him at some point saying, "Hey, it'll be really cool if you were a stay-at-home mom, at some point." And at first I was like, "What?" Like, I went to school, I'm working to go, and that thought, slowly, as we were married, and then we were planning on having a child, and it just started getting more
Mm,
attractive, seeing others, seeing you, having your first child, and just like, all right, I kind of love this. And it was a big shift. It was
yeah.
an idea of having all this time to do all this volunteer. Ryan and I have always been the yes people. You need us, here we are.
Hmm.
And that part didn't necessarily change a ton. We still are like that, but it definitely has decreased,
Yeah.
because, of course, prioritizing our family. But it definitely changed perspective of my. I think the biggest challenge goes into this. Um, Me, right as during pregnancy, had an amazing job, and full time, and my idea was, hey, if I can work this to be flexible, work from home, I can do this, um, and I can still work physically at the job. And you know, pregnancy happens, baby's here, going back to work and realizing this is tough, having
Mm,
to wake up at 3, 4 in the morning to drive my baby to get taken care of, at
hmm.
5 in the morning, half asleep, having to then go to work to go pick her up, and seeing myself falling asleep on the highway,
Hmm.
with a child in the back, was just this anxiety of, you know, there has to be a change. And God really heard my heart and my cry on, I want to be there for my child, but I also realize I have responsibilities. I have bills to pay. So the reality of, God, how do I do this? And
Mhm.
without even searching, God, one day, I remember it was a Friday, and I was asked, "Hey, do you know anybody that's interested in such and such?" I was like, "Well, I am." Um, and it was like, God, if this is for you, if this is where I need to be, because it was a drastic change. It was a perfect set scenario where I can work from home, but it was a dramatic pay change.
Mm.
So it's all right, God, this what you want us to do? This is where, is the sacrifice worth it? Is the financial sacrifice worth it to
Yeah.
be home with my child? And I can absolutely, with no regret, although I do miss the paycheck, with no regret say, I absolutely made the right decision.
Yeah.
Being able to be at home and still being able to I still work full time from home, but being able to see my child grow, not miss certain things and not to knock my hat off to those women and men that go out and do their thing and take care of their kids full time and come home and have it down. Listen, true MVPs, but that was just not working for me and my household. And God made the opportunity for it. And I just it was amazing. So that was a big shift. That was a big um one of the biggest challenge was making that change to now after 10 plus years at a job that I was growing into, that I was getting raises, that I was promoted, and to say this is it for that journey and now to my next chapter. And it's been the best chapter yet. So
Mm.
yeah, definitely one of the biggest things. But yeah, it's change. It changes your perspective and the reality of what it is to be a parent, right? Ideally you want to do all these things and dreams. You want to be able to go and do all these volunteering and have all these dreams, of realizing putting them on hold, or for a few months or for a year, does not mean giving up on yourself or your
Mhm.
dreams, but it's
Mhm.
just prioritizing, right? Is putting your family and what's important, and realizing that things are in God's timing, and he's the one that says, you know what, this is your chapter right now. Don't worry, the other stuff is to be continued. And at due time, when it's your time to do it, that'll be there. That dream is going to be there for you to fulfill. So it's not, I think a lot of that, I have a lot of conversations with new moms that feel like, well, I lose myself in
Mm.
pregnancy or in
Mhm.
marriage. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, you find a different part of you.
Mm.
You evolve into something different that you wouldn't have experienced had you not made that decision. And
Mhm.
again, best decision yet. I love my baby girl, as energetic as she is. I love having her here with me as I work. And the little interruptions and the balancing out has made it all worth it.
Oh, I love that. Oh gosh, there was so many amazing tips and nuggets that you laid out in that, but just that last kind of tip that you said of, it's not that you lost yourself, you're just finding another piece of you, another layer of you. I love that. I love that. And I think that's such a good perspective. And it's such a good reminder, I think, for any mom at any phase. It's just, sometimes you can get caught up in the entire kind of like circus show sometimes of like picking up the toys, putting things away, changing diapers, running behind kids, you know, feeding millions and millions of times a day, all kinds of things that come with it. And yet it's just such a beautiful new season, right? And sometimes you don't always get a chance to see it that way, the way you want to, but then you step back and you see your child growing, like you said. You see the new
Yeah.
little things that they are doing that you didn't see before. Or even just that you get a chance to be a part of those moments that, it could have been lost in some other way on someone else in some other capacity, and you're able to be there for that. And it's not to say that, those who aren't able to be there all the time lose that for forever, but it really is a shift. And I distinctly
Yeah.
remember kind of that same shift for myself, especially when I was working more clinically and I had, long hours, and then came home and had to document and chart and all these other kinds of things that came with it, and then started up early again. And your heart aches just for, hearing those words, seeing those steps, getting a chance to, prepare the meals and all those things that come with it. And I think it's such a wonderful reminder of, it's okay to shift, but then it's also okay to know that seasons are just that. They're seasons. They change,
Yeah.
they grow, they evolve. Sometimes they last, they last longer than you think. Sometimes they're shorter than you think. And it's just appreciating that season no matter where you find yourself. And I think in a lot of ways, I mean, if anything has grown me up and matured me, motherhood has, and it sounds the same for
Yes.
you, of just being able
Indeed.
to find that maturity in self and just saying, you know what? Again, in that giving nature, a lot of my giving went to other people, but right now it's giving towards this little life that I've been entrusted with, and how
Yeah.
I can have, this season of time to groom and to pour into and to direct and to help. Um, while also still, finding yourself and finding out how you operate and knowing how to prioritize. And I think that's been the main theme across multiple different episodes, from a variety of other women within this series, has just been about understanding that ebb and flow of that season, that understanding of that purpose, for that space and time, and knowing that things may evolve quickly, and just knowing how to roll with it, and
Yeah.
learning what you need to learn while you're there, instead of like kicking and screaming the entire time, and then when it's done you're like, oh, I should have gotten more out of that season while I had the
Yeah.
chance. So that's so rich, and so it's just such a good reminder. And as you kind of like think about that more, are there big lessons that you feel like you've gained apart from, shifting and not losing yourself? Are there other big lessons that you feel like you've learned just about yourself, maybe even as a woman, in this season of motherhood?
Man, I think I realized I can do more than what I thought. It
Mm,
definitely is a confidence booster.
yeah.
Um, you come into this with no manual. As many books as you can find of motherhood, it's not is the moment the little head is there, the pops out is like what books, and it really shows strength. How strong women are,
Yeah.
and how our bodies are created for this. How it's one of those, you can't explain it until you actually live it, and even then it's hard to explain it. It's just one of those, if you haven't had a baby, just wait, you'll know
Mhm.
exactly what I'm talking about. But it's just, it amazes me how certain things just and this is God, this is the Holy Spirit giving insight, but just kind of come to you.
Mhm.
And I didn't know I can do certain things, and how he prepares you, how he equips you to like you said, mold and grow a tiny human.
Mhm.
I'm this little person, is I'm responsible for their growth. I'm responsible for who they're going to become, right? Like what I do is gonna affect them later on. So knowing that, that's such an amazing task that we were gifted. um it's really shown, it's helped me grow. It's helped me show what are things in me that
Hmm.
I need to fix, that I need to modify, that I need to get rid of, that
Yeah.
I need to check, so that, hey, I don't want my child to do these things. And not to bash myself and be in this depressive state, but to be in a hey, if my floor should be, my ceiling should be my child's floor.
Mm, mhm.
They shouldn't have to go through or learn, the basic things that I learned. Like, I should be able to give you the best, and then what I gave you should spring you forward. And it just really shows that part, that the resiliency that women have. I mean, a respect in so many aspects. In seeing other women, other moms, go through things, pregnancy issues, or breastfeeding, or things like that, you never think about, like, wow,
Mhm.
this is real. This is
Yeah.
not this is not a game. This is not a test anymore. But the fact that you're prepared for it, that God gave you the strength and he gave you the strategy. I always say every child comes with their own manual. And the moment that you ask the Holy Spirit to say, hey, how is it that I'm supposed to care for my child? That manual is downloaded to you.
Mm, mhm.
Our children are blank canvases that God is it gives us the tools to be able to chisel what. Yeah, they come with their own personalities, and they have their own little things that make them, but we have the ability to really raise young men and women that are of high standard, of God-fearing children. And the fact that we can do that has really been the biggest, I guess, booster in my life, and confident. It brought a lot of confidence to me on, what, I can actually do this, and I can do more of
Hmm.
this. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, I love every bit of that. And it's so true. I mean, and that goes across the board whether it's right your natural children or adopted children, or you are a mother figure to someone. It really, I mean, it really is amazing how you suddenly, like you said, get downloaded a whole other level of insight into how to move forward with this child. And also too, just recognizing, the things inside of you that could have been, from pride or selfishness, or maybe you were just kind of hanging on to old habits that you just needed to let go of. Motherhood
Yeah.
will get that out of you real quick. It will get you,
Yep.
as your kid will start either repeating the same things you're doing or mirroring back to you, and you're like, oh, wait a second, that's actually me. I'm watching myself right now. So
Yeah, and the beauty of that part is, what I love about it is, sometimes we beat ourselves up, right? Like,
mhm,
you want to be this perfect image for your children. And for anybody listening, you already are. Like,
mhm,
there, you can't do no wrong to your kids. Even, one thing that I love, even if I get to the point where I may have, done something at all, she's sad because I did something. 2 seconds later, she's like, "Mommy, I love you." Like,
mhm,
you can't do no wrong. So even in, oh my goodness, I have all this baggage and I'm gonna be a mom, I'm about to become a parent or be involved in this child's life. Um, don't beat yourself up in that part of, I have to be this perfect being. They see you differently than what we see now. What it does, yes, it gives you, it highlights, and it gives you an opportunity to be a better person so that you can give them your best. But it's not for the sake of beating yourself up and saying, "Oh man, I'm not, because I have this baggage or I screwed up in the past. I can't be a parent." No, by no means.
yeah.
These children will always treasure you.
That's so good. And that's such a good reminder. I think that grace, 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 grace factor, if anything that you have to grip onto is that grace. And I think that's, yeah, like you said, it's such a good reminder to not fall into the perfection trap, the comparison trap, especially in our social media age where it's like, oh, well, that mom
Yeah,
did this or that mom did that. And I seem to like not even being able to like get some real clothes on my kids for today. It's just,
yeah,
it's such a good place to be of saying, you know what, give yourself some grace. And yeah, there's obviously like things that you don't want to like hang over for forever, but it's also too, it's like you said, the love that you have towards your parent is it's incomparable, really. And I think that
yeah,
goes even if you've had the hardest relationship with your parent, even if you've had the most challenging situations, there is always something deep down in us that's wired to still want to have that connection. And
yeah,
sometimes some people can abuse that in the wrong way and start to like misuse the child. And then on the flip side of that, it's also a redeeming quality of like there's always room to make that connection right between mother and
yeah,
parent, or father and parent, or whatever, caregiver and child, or mother and child and father and child and caregiver and child, just that connection. There's always room for that. And so in the same way, like you said, which is beautifully said, that you want your ceiling to be your child's floor, that even if say you went through your own challenging situations, we've all gone through challenging things, us growing up, but that you create a higher platform for your child, right? And not in the sense
yeah,
of like making these unattainable goals that seem far-fetched, or you're just trying to make your child live vicariously through you and have to do all the things that you didn't get a chance to do, but really just
yeah,
setting them up well, right? It's like once I've learned and experienced what I can, and even as I'm learning as I go along, just elevate, make the best. And in a lot of ways, it also makes you that much better. And you find yourself even rising to the occasion as you are also growing your children too. So I just it's such a good reminder, and it's such an important reminder, especially again at any phase and stage, because there's always going to be those places where it's just like you have that self-doubt that tries to creep in, and it's like, no, wait, I have grace in this, just as my
yeah,
heavenly Father is giving me grace, he can definitely give me grace in this, in the same vein, help me to never misuse or abuse or take my kids for granted, but also help me to know how to nourish and steward them in a way that they continue to grow and I continue to learn as they grow too. So that's
yes.
such rich reminders, definitely so. And so in thinking about all of those beautiful things, let's get down to the nitty gritty. How do you balance it all? I mean, you're working from home, you are taking care of your kid, you are married, you are doing ministry, you're doing a lot of stuff. What's your key support? Like, what's keeping you going? What are your resources, tips, tricks, balances, calendars, whatever the case? Dish it all.
Yes. So I mean, first and foremost, I have to say is God. I mean, without tapping into daily God's opinion about me, about my household, about how to raise my child, and how to do work. I mean, I can't function. So that's
Mhm.
definitely number one. Um, I would say structure is the biggest thing. I
Yeah.
am a planner all the way. I plan my every day, my every moment as much as I can. Because like you said, I have a lot going on. I'm working full time from home. I have a 2 year old that is, in the beginning, well, a little bit better already into the potty training, still needs
Mhm.
help,
Mhm.
in the learning and the mommy this, help that, throughout the day. And of course, kids are unplanned. As much as I plan everything, I can't plan what she's gonna say or do, right, each day. But I definitely, yeah, just bring structure. I think every day, every night, I think about what I need to do the next day.
Mhm.
If there's any meeting, is there anything that I need to do that is like extremely high importance? Definitely have to do and checklist, on, especially whenever it comes to work stuff. I
Yeah.
keep all of the tasks and put them in priority so that I can be, a good steward of my job and what I have there, and responsible with what I have. Um, I try to, whenever it comes to meals, we haven't done it as faithfully for the past few weeks, but one of our things that we love to do is meal prep.
Yeah.
So that we take a day, and between Ryan and I, my husband and I, we break it down, and just cook for the week, so that that's done. That's one of our the biggest thing that we can do, is that it's the best, part. Yeah, structure for Melody, as making sure that there's a pattern, in the day. I try to create a routine as much as possible for her, throughout the day, so that there's a somewhat of a, predictable kind of aspect to her day.
Mhm.
And she knows what she'll do. She wakes up, brush her teeth, do this, eat, and get dressed, or whatever it is. Just kind of have a little, structure. This is your nap time. This is when you go. So that helps me in planning my day around. But realizing that, now that she's growing, I may be in the middle of a meeting, or in the middle of an important, paper or something that I'm writing, and Melody wants to play kitchen.
Yeah.
So it's the, do I ignore my child, or do I finish the sentence? And 9 times out of 10, the sentence is gonna wait, and I'm gonna go play for a few minutes, give her all the attention, and then say, "Okay, Melody, mommy has to go back to work." And she's so patient. I mean,
Mm.
I have to say that, as we call it in my family, what we say is, I was blessed with a sucker baby. A sucker baby, for those that don't know, is the baby that, sucks you into getting a second one, and then the second one is not like the first one. So that's why it's a sucker baby. So Melody is great, and she makes life easy. I'm so sorry for those listening that is not your case, but I have been blessed with that case. She is amazing, and she's very, very understanding. She's very in tune into her emotions, and really understanding when, hey, time, I need to go back. And I think a lot of that is, yes, personality, but a lot of it is structure since she was a baby. Just
Yeah.
really creating a structure for her where it creates some of that. And I guess the best gift of all, that I think at this point we are going to lose all of the people that are listening, and I am so sorry, because you all are going to hate me, but I have the best support system in the world. I have both grandparents side that are able to take care of her at any moment. If I need a moment, a couple hours, days, whatever, off a weekend, they will take her in a heartbeat, drop of a hat. They have uncles and aunts, and I mean, people that are, just there available. So that has been amazing. At times that I have big projects and things that I listen. If I have just one day that I can get all of this done, I'll be set for the week. And I take advantage of those days with my in-laws, with my parents. That has been the most amazing thing. So again, I am so sorry if that is not, I think I've been spoiled, right? Like, to me, this is normal. But I'll talk to other parents, it's not the case, and I'm so blessed to be able to have this support, um, where I can do life, and I can work, and I can do this stuff, knowing that she's well taken care of by my parents, by my in-laws, and it's an amazing blessing. But yeah, I guess if I in a nutshell, is preparing a structure, creating some structure. And it's hard, especially the more kids you have, the different ages, there's different needs. Again, I'm blessed with one right now, but that will change in a few weeks, not because I'm pregnant, uh, because
I
I
was
will
like,
be
oh, wow.
embarking because I will be embarking into a new journey that I can talk a little bit later. But it's definitely yeah, a structure, and be realistic, right? As
Mhm,
much structure as a planner as I am, there are days that nothing that I plan happens. So
mhm.
it's, don't beat yourself up. Just try again next, just do what you can, do what you need to do. There are days that it's like, listen, today is going to be a short work day. I'll just work extra hours tomorrow or in a few days. And again, I'm blessed with having a job that is also flexible with my hours. I can move my hours around. However, I don't have to have to work, a certain times and days. I can just, as long as I do my hours, however I do it and get the work done, that's pretty much, how I work. So that's a benefit there. And I know a lot of people don't have. Again, do not hate me. I feel like I'm making so many enemies right
No
now.
way, no way.
But yeah, the structure part, and don't beat yourself up. I mean, it there are days, there are weeks that are like, I just want to sit down and put my feet up and do nothing else. But realizing that, what, that's not realistic, because you have a household, you have ministry, you have things to do. My husband and I are very active in our church and ministry, and there are responsibilities there. But I think it's just that it's finding your own, and Antoinette, you said it earlier, you know, it's really easy, especially in the beginning of a starting, parenthood, is to look to the side to your other friends to mimic what they're doing. And not that it's bad to start somewhere, right? You have to
Mhm,
start somewhere. But if your life is your life, and you do what works for you. For me, structure and planning and details and writing everything down is what works for me. If it's not written down, I will forget. But for others, hey, you may have a great memory, a different, you may be loose, and just life works for you. I think it's just find what works for you in your household. I have an amazing husband that he works full time and is extremely involved in church and other different things that he does. But we have a balance and understanding of, parenthood is both of us. I'm staying at home on purpose to dedicate more time for Melody. So I'm the primary one there because of my time that I'm spending. But when he gets home, he takes over.
mhm.
So allows me a time to now, okay, while Melody now is with daddy, although we're in the same house, but he's helping with making sure that she's getting, if she needs attention, of course, throughout the day, is mommy, mommy, mommy. So if he hears her mommy, mommy, he'll be like, Melody, come on, daddy will take you. So that gives me a chance to do what I need to do, self-care, as well as things in the house. So is that open communication between, again, your support outside of, hey, I need help, I need a day, a sanity day, or literally just a day for me to sleep because I haven't slept.
Yeah.
But or just that communication with the person, with your spouse, and saying, hey, we there needs to be a balance. So that's been, I would say that's my secret. No, if it helps anybody out there, but definitely is what worked. But my advice is find your own flow. You
Mhm,
you
mhm.
you may be a single mom, so you may not have that, when you get home it's you, but find your own thing that works for you. And more than anything, ask the Holy Spirit for help. I mean, you have no idea how much, he is just waiting for you to ask. Sometimes we wait to ask these big questions, these
Mhm,
big tasks, and forget that he wants to take care of us in our every single decision, even as small as, hey, should I wear this today?
mhm.
Um, should I eat this right now? And really inviting him into your day. Wake up in the morning, inviting him in, so that you can see how your day will flow. And every opinion and everything that you need to do, even whenever it comes to disciplining your children, or any structure activities or whatever you need to do, invite him in, and he'll give you the what works for you and your household.
Yeah. Oh goodness, that's so rich. That's so rich. I love it. We're going to have to like make a whole book after all of this because it's so good. I mean, so many good things and no hate whatsoever. We celebrate completely that you have things intact it's quite honestly you want everyone to be able to have that. You want to be able to have the support system flowing around you, whether it's both sets of grandparents, whether it's other, caregivers, whether it's people that you're in community with that you can share that. That's you want that for everyone in one way, shape, or form. And I think it was such a great picture and image to see how that works when things do fall in line the way they were intended, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah,
and I know that there are many of us who, for one reason or another, we live far away, we live in different places. Parents and grandparents might be here and there, aunts and uncles might be here and there, and it makes it harder. It makes it harder to figure out that balance. But at the same time, like you said, having that communication, even if it's just with your spouse, your partner, of saying, "Hey, I need a little bit of space. I need a little bit of time. I need to just sit outside by myself for a minute,"
yeah,
whatever the case may be, and communicating that, and that in itself gives you, that reset. And God definitely knows what we can handle. Like you said, parenting and motherhood will start to bring out the strengths that you didn't know you needed, and you didn't know
yeah,
you had. And so even in that, and some of the women that I've spoken with that have different life circumstances where parents are far away and they're really just kind of figuring it out on their own, they have been graced to figure it out. They've been graced to have that strength. And
yeah,
when they need those extra hands, that extra support, a lot of it's just communicating that and saying, you know what, I really do just need a day to sleep, a couple of hours to sleep, some time to figure something out, whether again that's, someone trusted in your community or it's
yeah,
parents around you, whoever is pulled into that situation. And so so many great things. And then of course, I mean, you're totally my soulmate on the structure and planning thing. I often have jokingly said I have planners on top of planners, and I don't know how people could get through the day without like having some kind of list. So it's just, I think that's such a good reminder and balance. And even if your kids super fly by the seat of their pants, or they kind of are very creative. Like, one of our kids is just super creative. And so sometimes you're kind of like here, there, and everywhere, but also too, even within that creativity, finding that structure, finding that balance,
yeah,
finding some kind of flow so that they can grow with some balance around them, even if it gives them room to be free and do what they need to do. So
yeah,
I think that was such a good reminder. And just again, that other big tip is just finding your flow. Yes, you might have to look to the left and right a little bit to like glean some type of insight and wisdom from other people, or maybe just kind of check things out. But then once you start to get your own bearings, do you like completely do you in terms of mothering, and let that be your thing, because that's really what helps you flourish when you figure out, you know what, I may not have this, and this, but I do have this, and this is working for me and my kid. Or like you said, you might have been blessed with like the sucker kid, so to speak. I've never heard that terminology before ever, where it like sucks you into, that you have an easygoing kid. And I totally, I have one of my other sister-in-laws, like, her kids are so chill. I love it. Every time we've gotten a chance, obviously pre-pandemic, to get a chance to see them more, they were just so chill. And my kids are like jumping off the couch all over the place. And I'm like, you guys are so good. But also too, I love my kids. I love their energy. And when we have to have dance parties in the house, they're all for it. So and that works because that's also too just, how me, and my husband, your brother, are. We're just high energy people, and we love our kids high energy as well.
yeah,
And so obviously at the end of the day, you just want to sleep and you want them to be quiet, but at the
yeah,
same time, you do what works for you. And so I love that reminder, and I love just how all of that again just brings in the grace and just understanding your season, your flow, and how God has
yeah,
equipped you to raise the child that's in front of you. Because
yeah,
that's your kid, that's the one you're entrusted to, that child at the end of the day. Even if you have all the support in the world, that kid's still yours. And so just
yeah,
knowing how to manage all of that. So,
yeah.
oh,
There
good
was one
stuff.
thing. There was one thing that I left out whenever it comes to managing. Right. We talked about work and household and all that stuff, but there was one a question that you asked, and it was about marriage.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll keep it in short because it's not even it's hard whenever it comes to time and making time, but you make time,
Yeah.
make sure that there's a weekly time that you separate. I think a lot of people, once kids come into the picture, their life revolves around the child, and the child becomes first. And just know that you're besides God, you're spouse is first,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, you don't want to be in a situation where kids are grown, leaving the nest, and now you're left with your husband that you've neglected for a
Mm-hmm.
while,
Mm,
because you've dedicated to the kids the whole time and not realizing, when they're gone, it's just you and this person.
mm-hmm.
That in the beginning it was just you, and it was all this adventure, and then, so making time. Ryan and I have often every week, we try to do it Fridays because that's when my parents take Melody um overnight, and we have this is our date night. We
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we separate time for each other. And we don't have nothing extravagant, especially now. There's You can't really go many places.
Mm-hmm.
We get creative. We're home, and even if it's literally our date nights have been many times, we're just gonna go home and sleep, because we haven't slept. But it's really just that care, self care, for yourself, but that care for your marriage is important, um, because it's gonna drive that connection, and that going, and in marriage and in separate, and making sure that you take that care, is making sure that you're, as you're raising your children, that there's a cohesiveness, right? Kids, I mean, everybody knows this. Kids know how to take sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they know mommy is gonna say one thing and daddy's gonna say another, they know how to go around it. So I think is making sure that hey, this, if you will, these are the rules of the house. This is what we do, and we don't contradict each other. We back each other up, and we don't, in front of the kids, we don't disagree. Even if we do disagree, we won't do that, because we don't want them to see that part, and not that there's this big taboo on kids seeing mommy and daddy not agreeing, because it's part of life. But there are things that happen, whenever constantly disagreeing, or constantly being separated in ideas or decisions, where it creates a hard, in the long run, it's gonna be hard for you to parent. So having those conversations, if you haven't, I'm sure there's so many of you guys listening that you don't even have a kid yet, but you have a person, either you're engaged, seriously dating, or you're married and you're thinking, hey, either one day we're going to have a kid. Have these conversations now,
Mm-hmm.
of how are we going to parent. Do you agree with discipline? What type of discipline? What do you do in this situation? That's something that Ryan and I did almost from day one when we started dating. We went through scenarios just to make sure, are we on the same page? And the things that we weren't, okay, let's navigate through this, because we create our own culture when we get married. So how can we create our own culture where we feel comfortable, we're honoring God, and we're also raising, kids, and we're not, that, for lack of better words, damaging them in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
But take time to communicate, and to have that time of bonding, once a week, even if it's just for an hour, just anything, just be creative and find ways to really dedicate time to each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, so good, so good. We're gonna have to have you back for like a whole other series of all kinds of other things. That was good. And and it really does, that's why I tell people not to tune out just because it's a series on motherhood. There's so many other major life tips, life lessons, marriage tips, and everything else that comes with it, because parenting is like you got a whole other ball game of things that you have to weave into it. And so it's much more than just the kids, right? It's everything else about yourself, about the, your significant other, how you
Yeah.
navigate your purpose, your identity. It's all of that. It's all of that. So, oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Such good stuff. And I love every single thing that you shared. And just in the last few minutes that we have together, because I obviously can just kind of go on and on because I love just getting a chance to share together. Are there any big events or projects or things that you want to highlight, want to promote, stuff about yourself, anything? This is your time to shine, so that, our listening audience, if there's any special things that you have going on that you want to share, by all means, feel free to do so.
Yeah, don't have anything big, project or anything to sell. So, hold on to your money.
Yeah.
No need to buy anything. But no, definitely I would say, as I talked about earlier about balance, and talk about bringing Holy Spirit and all that stuff. I guess I want the audience to join with me in prayer whenever it comes to new um, venture, I guess, if you will, that I'm embarking in the coming weeks, as I mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
Is yeah, in trying to balance and how to raise my child, right? And trying to do things as she grows and certain needs that she's now requiring. Like, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but there's she has a need to be around other kids, but how do we do this safely?
Yeah.
God has definitely opened an amazing opportunity with a great friend to be able to take care of her kids. So I would say less than a promoting myself, but more, you know, in the coming weeks, in about 2 weeks, I'm going to be starting my own little kind of still working, still doing my other job and
Mm-hmm.
doing, you know, lowering some hours there and being wise in that, but starting my own little daycare, if you will,
Mm.
with a about 2-month-old baby and another 2-year old. So please pray for me. Um,
Yes.
there may be a sequel to this, and I'm probably gonna say, you know what, everything I said, forget about it. No, but but no, definitely, I think I'm excited because it's something that I've been wanting for Melody and having a child her age around, seeing some development, some things, preparing her um, for whatever moment she gets to school, just kind of really, again, that structure part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to find, well, my friend found me, just this opportunity to be able to find trusted family, trusted friends, that we can do this in safety. You know, we've taken all safety measures to make sure we're all good and healthy, and communication. So it's an exciting time. So yeah, I'm excited. You know, hopefully there'll be a time for me to let you guys know how it went or how it's going. Am I still living? Am I still sane? But yeah, that's the biggest change, and I'm excited again into having two major jobs, you know, in a season. One, thankful that in a season where sadly some are losing jobs, God is blessing me with additional opportunity to work, but also an opportunity to even more so see my child grow,
Mm-hmm.
um, without compromising things in my household, finances in my household, being able to pour and teach her some things that I know are gonna be beneficial for her in the long run. So yeah, stay tuned.
Oh, that's so good. And we absolutely bless you that you have the wisdom you need and the grace and the strength. This will definitely grow you in new ways. And I just commend you for undertaking that. And especially again, just following your own lead and creating that community for someone else, right? It's creating that
Yeah.
resource to be a resource for somebody else, by offering your time. And I think that in itself just circles all the way back around to your initial statement of just being a giver. And in this way, you are really giving space to someone else while also being able to give a platform for your kid to have some company. And I love how you're doing that. Nanny Emily, I love it. And it's going to be so good. And I'm excited to see how things blossom. And we'll definitely have to do a sequel just so that we can see how you're hanging in there. But I so appreciate every single thing that you've shared, just sharing and pouring your life, giving to us in the ways that you have, and just the amazing reminders on motherhood, parenting, profession, personal journey, your walk with God, and ultimately just who He's calling you to be. And so I really do. I bless you, not just because you're my sister, but also too just because of who you are and how you are. So I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm just thankful to share the audience with you. So anyway, everyone, that is all the time that we have. I am so thankful for you tuning in, and continuing to tune in to all the episodes that we've been able to put together, but especially this episode on motherhood has been such a special time for me and for the women I've gotten a chance to speak with. And it's really gotten a chance to help us all see what it means to walk in His will, right? Because again, the whole purpose behind Montalvo International Women in Life and Leadership is about your will and my will representing His will. And it's been really neat to see that come together in a variety of different ways. So continue to stay well, continue to be strong. All the mothers, mother figures, those who are just trying to make it through the day to day, thank you for what you're doing. If no one else has told you thank you, I'm telling you thank you. I commend you and I bless you as well. I just pour strength over you as you continue to navigate all the things that you're doing, all the tasks, all the situations, even just figuring yourself out. Know that you're loved, that you're cared for, that you're important, and that I'm just excited to see you grow in every way, shape, and form. So stay well. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Bye.